Okay, let's take a look at some more examples. Here we're going to, this is for TI calculator, but we're going to focus on StatCrunch or ArtOStat. So we'll do some more examples here. So I want you to try example 4 and 5 on your own. Here are the answers so that you could do that using StatCrunch or the ArtOStat. Just check to see that you get the same answers. Yeah, make sure you do that. I'm just double checking my mathematics here. Getting 7% or better, so that's greater than. And so we had to use 14 here. This is key. 70% is 14 questions. That's why we're using 40 and not 0.70. So be careful. And 0.70 is not your p-value, right? You have a 25% chance of guessing when there's 4 options. So just make sure you're mindful of that one here as a 70% rule. This one was similar to what we had before. Your let me at least write your values that you need here. And so in this one here, again, your n in this case is 50. And your p that you're going to use is 0.85. So just make sure you're mindful of that as you do that and do the calculations. Here I have those done for you. But again, 70% is related to the 14 questions that we're going for there. Important also, again, we talked about expected value. We talked about expected value in the last lesson. We have it here also. And so you saw in the ArtOStat, if you look at the calculations for the ArtOStat here, let me get back to find probabilities. You'll see that is located up. Let's see. I know. Oh, right here. They're up on the top here. I'm circling it up here. When you do your calculations, you get the mean and standard deviation. So that's calculated. For StatCrunch doesn't do this one by. StatCrunch doesn't give that to you, so you need to do that one by hand, the way we're going to look at it here. And so these are the formulas for expected value. How many, what are our expected values under these conditions? And so looking at example 6 and 7, if you flip a coin 200 times, what is the expected value, right? In other words, how many heads would you expect to observe? And the calculation just n times p. P is 50%. You expect 100, about half, right? And that's the idea under these binomial situations. You have a variance and a standard deviation you can calculate. They're not complicated formulas, so those are easy to do by hand. And so you can see those calculations right there. Now, we use this idea to go back to what we've been emphasizing, is this idea of unusual. We care when we see something unusual. That already kind of sparks some thoughts in our head about, okay, what did we just see and how is that related to what we've seen, to our claims about the world? And so observing things that are unusual goes back to the idea we had in a previous lesson, is that anything that is more than 2 standard deviations away from the mean, right? In this case, the mean is the expected value. That's your mu, right? What would be the range of values? In this case, 85.86 to 114.14. I'm taking 100 plus 2 standard deviations, 100 minus. And so that's how we check to see if something's unusual. And then here's another question about showing you how to calculate expected value and standard deviation. You can see where those values come from and then how we plug them in. And again, ArtOStat actually does that for us. But StatCrunch doesn't, so that's why you actually have to calculate that by hand.